Hi everyone, welcome back to News with Ness. Now, earlier this morning, the Associated Press released an article titled, "After Lobbying, Catholic Church Won $1.4 billion in Virus Aid." As we know, times right now are very uncertain. A lot of businesses are hurting, a lot of organizations are hurting, a lot of people are hurting. Due to the struggle that people are going through, the government has provided people with a relief fund to help them alleviate the problems that have come from the pandemic. One of the groups that have been hurting from the pandemic that received help was the Catholic Church. According to the Associated Press's article, the Catholic Church won $1.4 billion in virus aid. Many people are upset, taking to Twitter to complain about the fact that the Catholic Church has received funds. So right now we're going to sit down, we're going to be looking at the article that the Associated Press posted, and we're going to be talking about the actual truths of why the Catholic Church received funds and whether or not it was okay. Now, many people seem to believe that the Associated Press is a reputable news source, but time and time again, the Associated Press falls guilty of not retracting mistakes that they make. I have previously done papers in the past where I have addressed that the Associated Press will publish an article and allow the New York Times, the LA Times, the Washington Post to run with the article, only for the Associated Press to realize that they made a mistake, change up their article, but never retract the information that they said that was wrong. And once again, the Associated Press has fallen guilty of providing misinformation to their audience. However, we are to be sure that they are not going to retract the information that they said. The Associated Press says that the Catholic Church won $1.4 billion in virus aid. However, the Catholic Church didn't win anything. The Catholic Church was loaned money to help in relief of the struggles that it's going through, as many other organizations have also been provided with these funds. Now, the Catholic Church was granted this loan due to the Payback protection program, which provides small businesses with funds to help keep their employees employed. Typically, religious groups, faith-based organizations, and houses of worship do not qualify for these grants. But the US SBA, which stands for the US Small Business Administration, says that faith-based organizations do fall under these grants. So according to the Paycheck Protection Program, the PPP, they are giving out $659 billion in funds to help keep Americans employed. So who can apply for the PPP? Well, any small business that meets SBA size standards, sole proprietors, independent contractors, and self-employed persons, any business with an NAICS code that begins with 72 that employs less than 500 per location, and any business 501c3 nonprofit organization, 501c veteran organization, or tribal business concern of the Small Business Act with the greater of 500 employees, or that meets SBA industry size if there are more than 500. Like I mentioned, typically, faith-based organizations do not fall under the qualifications for these grants, but the SBA says that regardless of your faith identity, whether or not you have secular activities, they will grant you this grant if you fall under their qualifications. And the Catholic Church falls under the qualification of 501c3 nonprofit organization. According to the SBA, the Catholic Church falls under the qualifications for this grant, hence why they were given this grant in the first place. However, people are still upset that the Catholic Church received funds. A main reason as to why people are upset that the Catholic Church received funds is that the fact that the Catholic Church received $1.4 billion in funds to the church. However, a lot of people do not understand where the $1.4 billion funds go. Now, they don't just go to a local parish only or your grandma's local parish only, but they're going to many different organizations within the Catholic Church, such as Catholic high schools, Catholic middle schools, Catholic colleges, Catholic charities, Catholic archdioceses, Catholic parishes. So as we know, as many of the businesses were hurting because they had to close down because of the pandemic, the Catholic Church also had to close down as well. They no longer could hold public masses, which a lot of their revenue came from when they would do weekly collections. So there were no funds going to the food pantry, to going to even lighting their buildings, or to their schools, to their charities. And so the Catholic Church was hurting for money as other organizations are. According to the SBA, religious organizations in total received a net dollar of $7.2 billion to provide for the job count of 1,051,114 people that are employed in religious organizations. So, for the Associated Press and the other news organizations that reposted this article, it's absurd for them only to highlight the Catholic Church as receiving funds, because as we can see here, the Catholic Church only received a fraction of the funds from the religious organizations. So we are aware that other churches, other faith-based communities are receiving funds as well. We also see that other organizations such as civic and social organizations, other nonprofits received funds as well, making up net funds received for those from the PPP loans for religious grant-making civic, professional, and similar organizations, a total of $13.5 billion, making up for 1,677,570 jobs. Another reason why people complain that the Catholic Church received funds is that they believe that since the Catholic Church falls into a nonprofit organization, that they should not receive funds because they are not paying taxes. Now, someone can argue this and we can agree with this. We can go like, okay, maybe they have justification to their claim. However, there are other organizations that fall into nonprofits that has received a lot of money, but yet people are not up in arms. For instance, Planned Parenthood received $80 million in virus aid funds from the PPP, and no one complains about it. Another main reason as to why people are upset that the Catholic Church is receiving funds from the PPP is that they believe that it erodes the wall of separation between church and state. And by people, I mean the Associated Press themselves. In the article, they say, and I quote, "Meanwhile, some legal experts say that the special consideration the government gave faith groups in the loan program has further eroded the wall between church and state provided in the First Amendment." So, does providing funds to churches that are hurting right now due to the fact that they cannot open their doors because the government is promoting them not to, does this erode the wall of separation between church and state? It doesn't. And here's why. First of all, many people claim that the Constitution teaches the separation between church and state, and they say you can find it in the First Amendment. However, the Constitution does not teach separation of church and state. So let us go to the First Amendment to see what it says. It says, "Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or the right of the people peacefully to assemble, and to petition the government for a redress of grievances." So the first thing that we see in this amendment is that Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion. And by this means that government cannot favor one religion over the other. It cannot make a national religion. And the second part of this is prohibiting the free exercise thereof. This means that the government cannot infringe upon your right to practice your religion. When many people hear the phrase separation of church and state, they assume it means that there is no place for religion in politics. However, it actually means that the government cannot infringe on your rights to practice your faith, not the other way around. So therefore, no, the Catholic Church and other religious organizations receiving funds from the PPP does not impede on the separation of church and state, which is not even found in the Constitution to begin with. Another thing that we should know about the money that is received to these religious organizations, to the Catholic Church, are in fact loans. They are loans. They're not free money provided to them, but loans given to them which have an interest rate. So, for the Associated Press to publish this article this morning, highlighting on the Catholic Church receiving funds but ignoring all the other organizations such as Planned Parenthood who have received funds is utterly absurd. We can understand that they are just spewing their propaganda. They're a very biased source, and I really suggest people reconsider seeing them as reputable. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this installment of News with Ness. If you like this video, please give it a like. If you like me, please be sure to hit that subscribe button and also turn on that bell notification so you're notified when I post. I will be highlighting some other news topics that have to do with the Catholic Church in the near future, so I really suggest hitting that bell, and I look forward to seeing you guys all in my next video. Back to you, Bob.